So let's understand. Arvind Kejriwal has made his way out of Tihar jail. Does it mean that he's out, or it involves series of legal steps? Series of failed attempts have led to a final outing of Mr. Kejriwal on bail from jail. And as the rule or legality suggests, bail is the rule and jail is an exception. And that exception worked since March 21st, 2024, the day he was arrested on the grounds of his role in liquor scam. Liquor scam, there was an ED case earlier, and subsequently there was a CBI case as well. Now, post his release from the jail, we have seen that Aam Aadmi Party is trying to orchestrate celebrations. And these celebrations, I must say, are coincidental with elections in Haryana. Whether these celebrations are there as celebrations or these celebrations have been organized and orchestrated to obfuscate the inconvenient reality of multiple wrongs and scams which have happened during Aam Aadmi Party's governance ever since they took over the reins of government uh, way back uh, in Delhi. And bail may sound like a temporary relief to Aam Aadmi Party, but does it truly wash away the stains of corruption is what needs to be seen. What needs to be seen is that while Aam Aadmi Party's chief and the CM of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, was sent to jail on the charges of corruption and liquor scam, but there are some unmatched dealings which have happened and which we can call as dubious dealings which have taken place during their governance in Delhi. And the amounts which have been brought out in public view vary from 2,000 crore to 78,000 crore. The variation could be from scams involving fake medicines to water to classrooms, all kind of wrongs which have been brought out in public view. And I would recall that there was something called Sheesh Mahal. So if we consolidate this entire argument, it could be um, emphasized that the corruption has been seen from Sheesh Mahal to Qutub Minar of corruption, and that's what Delhi has been faced with. The corruption which Delhi has seen, um, we see the governance which have suffered, and the citizens of Delhi have suffered quite a bit because of bad governance and bad administration. What is being touted as victory? Is it a real victory, or is it enough to create a smokescreen for Aam Aadmi Party? It will still have to be tested in the coming elections because the court of law has granted bail, but court of the people's decision is still pending. Inconvenient and troubling questions need to be answered pertaining to governance and corruption and the direct correlation between the two. Or one could also say, is it an attempt to obfuscate rather than the rug, rather than push the wrongs under the rug in a bid for political survival? One could question that also. Celebrations could also be meant to obfuscate the distinction between a temporary order, because bails are always temporary in nature, and acquittal. So the difference and distinction between bail and acquittal has been chosen to be merged with each other, and that's why so much of celebration is what you see. On the legal aspects, I must say, let's go back to legality. There were two cases which were pending before the Supreme Court. One was challenging the arrest of Mr. Kejriwal, and there was another case which was for bail. So the decision has come on these two cases. One, that arrest by CBI has been upheld, and the former order, which was order of bail under the ED case, those conditions have been again imposed, and in addition to those conditions, some other stricter and stringent conditions have been imposed. The two judges seem to have agreed on granting bail to Mr. Kejriwal, but they differ on the reasoning of grant of bail. The continuous, or I would say, the conditions which have been imposed on Mr. Kejriwal are severe by any standards, and these severe conditions which have been imposed right from ED case to the present CBI case only go to show the seriousness of offence. And I could just enumerate some of those conditions. And one is that he is barred from attending the CM's office or attend any meeting at the Delhi Secretariat. For a sitting CM, what could be more embarrassing than not to enter his own office or the Secretariat building for that matter? No influence could be exercised with respect to witnesses, etc. That means witnesses in the case have been protected, especially in view of in light of the fact, or in view of the fact that in the middle of the night, few files were taken out and there was an attempt to destroy the evidence. Keeping all that in mind, the imposition of this condition seemed correct. But it is severe also that he cannot have any contact with the witnesses. He cannot make any public comment with respect to the matter or exercise any such authority on the merits of the case. So that is another condition which has been put. Bond, he has to submit a bond of 10 lakh rupees and 2 witnesses. He cannot sign any files, which means virtually while he remains a CM, he's chosen not to resign. And in exercise of power, he cannot sign any file. So virtually he will have to take permission of the Lieutenant Governor to sign anything. There is a prohibition on his interaction with the witnesses, and all other conditions which had been imposed during the ED case continue to be imposed even in the present bail order. On the legal side, Justice Suryakant and Justice Bhoyana have differed in their reasoning. Justice Suryakant has concurred with Justice Bhoyana on granting bail to Mr. Kejriwal, but he has chosen not to share the same skepticism as Justice Bhoyana's skepticism about the role of agencies and actions. Instead, Justice Suryakant has laid emphasis, and his approach has been that investigation needs to be protected, and investigation needs to be free from any kind of interference, and that has been his emphasis while granting bail to Mr. Kejriwal. Stringent bail conditions which have been imposed by both judges go to indicate that there are going to be political and administrative ramifications for Aam Aadmi Party and Mr. Kejriwal. We will still have to wait and see the results as to what truly happens, because ultimately perception amongst the people is also what matters to what matters in these conditions when you deal with public figures. I must say there is a blatant game of ambitions which is going on, and in this blatant game of ambitions, a clash of ambitions, one can say there is a lot of distrust which is unfolding before the public. Even from the perspective of jail, while the CM was in jail, he has chosen not to hand over the baton to anyone. Even during the duration that person was in jail, he chose to run the administration in his own name without passing on the baton or without giving anyone giving anyone the authority to run the governance for him. So which goes to show that all is not well within the Aam Aadmi Party. While public hugging may go on, public celebrations may go on, but internally the party seems to be in disarray, and there is no trust and faith between the members. Certain questions obviously go out in the public domain when you're dealing with political figures and also the administrative heads of a state, and people would want to seek answers on many things that um, in these circumstances, while he's out on bail, but is he absolved of charges? That's what people need to understand, and they will obviously ask these questions. There's a very famous adage which says, "Leopard can't change its spots." So what people would want to understand is that this person who had a typical style of governance, or I could say misgovernance, is that likely to change? Is he going to act more responsibly? Is he going to build bridges? Is he going to be less corrupt? Is he going to give people the benefit of what people deserve? That's what needs to be seen, and one will be waiting for that. And one must understand that bail orders, while may sound permanent, as because bails are permanent, but bail is always temporary in nature because it does not amount to acquittal, and thus the acquittal and bail cannot be confused. One cannot be confused because of the two, and bail is interim because there is no finality of decision with bail. It's an order and not a judgment. And next would be that if a CM of a state goes to jail, does the question of accountability stops being questioned? Or I can put it differently. Let's say if a CM of a state goes to jail, does the accountability of democratic process gets impaired? Because on one side, he's a democratically elected leader. On the other side, he's failed the state by his bad governance and mismanagement of its resources. Last but not the least, that what is the ethical conduct and responsible government? Is it too much to ask that people in responsible position need to adhere to their role in good governance and their role as responsible and ethical people who have to adhere to the principles of ethical management of the people's resources? So far as being a citizen of Delhi and Indian national, I would always question that, does Delhi deserve this? Is there a need for genuine and unwavering leadership, or is that overstated? That's what people need to understand, that Delhi needs a genuine and a sane relationship with their leaders, and that need cannot be overstated. We must have an engagement of a leader with responsibilities rather than the leader be embroiled in controversies. That's what also needs to be seen. True leadership definitely involves more than monetary freedom. And what one sees is that it's when you're dealing with leadership, it does not mean that one is free to loot the citizens of Delhi or fool around with them on the monetary conditions. There's always a need for consistent presence, integrity, and ability to navigate complexities of governance without the shadow of corruption. And non-observance of these covenant is not something that Delhi needs. With these words, thank you very much. I'll come back in another episode of this podcast.